So I paid Charlie Morgan $25,000. And if you don't know who Charlie Morgan is, he's an entrepreneur in the info product space. Probably makes around $1 million every month. And recently I paid him for a mastermind in Dubai where he pretty much helps people to scale their info products. And what I want to do in this video is share all the lessons that I learned directly from working with him and the company, but also the lessons that you learn from just high-level people, but you can only learn from being around them, just seeing the way that they operate, how he communicates with his team, and everything that you would need to actually scale your business. So to just set the scene, the mastermind took place in Dubai, and I had a nice 12-hour flight here from Cape Town, where I stay, all the way to Dubai. It was hosted in the Palm area, so it was literally just right by the beach, and it took place over 3 days. Now, every single day, there was an event from 10 to 5 p.m. And here it was purely just focused on the business, right? Unveiling all the strategies that they use and all the other people there making 6, 7, even 8 figures, how they just operate their companies. And this, again, specifically is for info products, right? It's not necessarily for agency owners or freelancers, people like that. It's people who have some sort of program. So the first lesson that I learned is the idea that they waste no time at all. So to give you some context, besides the actual events that take place in Dubai, before those events, because the events only take place 4 times per year, so they have to have something in between, they have coaching calls. And this is very common amongst the info space where it's pretty much the founder on a call answering questions. So usually most people, myself included, you'd get on a call and you'd see the call scheduled for, let's say, an hour. And for some reason, you have like 3 things to discuss, but the call ends up taking an hour and you don't know how. But what I noticed with the way Charlie and his company operates is that he'll just sit on the call. He'll be like, cool, any questions? And then he'll just wait. And then someone will ask a question, he'll answer, then he'll just sit silent like that. Like borderline super awkward. But as soon as he's like, cool, any more questions? And they're like, no, no more. He just ends the call, like just like that. So the last call that I went to, we got through the questions and we were done in like 30 minutes, even though the call was scheduled for an hour, purely because there was just nothing to discuss. And in the same way, I took this lesson. Now it's like, okay, every meeting that we have, it's like, are we just speaking to fill the entire hour? Or can we just get the key things done and then move on? Now, the second lesson that I learned from Charlie is to learn from the greats. So when I was at the event, someone raised their hand. They were like, oh, what do you think about this guy's strategy? And it was like some guy on YouTube with like 5,000 subs. And I say this with like 2,000. But it is about just some guy who was making less money than Charlie. And his response was more so the idea that he was like, I don't watch these people. I don't listen to these people making 10K a month, 100K, even $1 million a month. He reads the books and the autobiographies of genuine like billionaires, conquerors, like people like Napoleon, people like the biggest businesses of all time. So what I learned from that, and it's a common thing that I've heard from a lot of successful people, and when I say successful, I mean like billionaires, is that they're very into history. And when I heard about history, I was like, oh, like reading about like the wars, like that, who really cares? Like I want to make money. But then I realized history also includes the most successful business owners of all time. So one of my favorite books after going to these events and understanding these things is called Titan by Ron Chernow. It's John D. Rockefeller's biography. It literally walks through how he went from being a bookkeeper, right, or even unemployed before that, all the way to the richest man on the planet. And it explains everything. Like the lessons you learn in that, as opposed to some 16-year-old guy on YouTube, it's completely different because he talks about how he manages, let's say, 10,000 employees. It's like, it's completely different. And what it does is it changes the way you think, and it changes the way that it changes who you compare yourself to. Now, the third lesson that I learned is to scale what's working. Now, this one sounds very simple. So when I joined the mastermind, I had one setter on the team. And basically his role was to reach out to prospects and book them onto my calendar so that I can take the sales call. And he was booking around 2 to 4 calls per day. So at the time I brought this to the mastermind and I was asking like, okay, we have this running, but do you think I should consider something like ads or scaling this other thing like content? And basically their response was like, no, don't even look at that stuff. Just focus on doing what you're currently doing, but as much as humanly possible. So it really is that simple. If you have something working, right, like setters who can easily book 2 to 4 calls a day, you just get more. So right now we're hiring 10 more setters on the team and we're just gonna scale the business like crazy. And this is without, doing some day in the life POV entrepreneur videos or like running $1 million in ads. We could just get more setters. And I actually made a video explaining how you can do this yourself. So I'll just link this in the first link in the description, how you can just get setters, train them up, have them booking 2 to 4 calls a day, and then you just take the calls and you just pay them per commission. It genuinely is the fastest way to get bookings coming in. So just use that for free, get some results, and then come back. Now, the next lesson that I learned from Charlie is to enjoy business. Most people, when they're in business, they get extremely like uptight and stressed and all these things. Yeah, so I got to the event and Charlie, the guy was wearing just Crocs and this baggy pants. And it's like the guy just did not care, genuinely. And you see all these other guys, and ironically, the guys were making like 50K, 100K, 150K, and they were in the most like well-cut, tailored shirts and like great pants and shoes and all that stuff. Charlie was just there in Crocs, man. And then halfway through the event, the guy just took the Crocs off. The guy's just walking straight. So genuinely, like the guy is just, he's talking about like spending like hundreds of thousands in ads in like just walking around in socks in like a 5-star Dubai resort. It's the most absurd thing you'll ever see, but it just shows like you get like that stereotypical like, okay, like Warren Buffett, he lives in this house and he doesn't care about money, he has this like bad car and all this stuff. It's one of those situations. Now, am I saying you need to like wear Crocs and stuff? Not really, not at all. I probably wouldn't recommend it, but it's like you don't need to take it so seriously. And usually all the stress that we have in business, I mean, if you're watching this, you most likely, you know, run your own business or are thinking of doing it. You put this stress on yourself. And again, there's nothing wrong with stress. Like, in fact, I want stress, but it can go the other way, right? It can get to the point where it's unnecessary. And sometimes you just got to walk around in Crocs. Now, the next lesson I learned is to check every single detail of the business. Now, one thing I heard, and this is from Charlie's business partner, Bo, who most people don't know about, but genuinely the guy is crazy. The guy's like an octopus, right? So he told me a story of every single morning, like someone was asking about his morning routine. And again, this guy makes like $1 million a month. Every single morning, he'll open his Chrome bookmarks where 50 tabs will open. And it just goes over the metrics of every single aspect of his business. So he checks the finance, he checks the sales stuff, he checks the funnels, he checks the team performance, he checks absolutely everything. And it's like every single morning he gets a pulse on the business. And then based on these numbers, he'll just like go on a Slack massacre. Like he'll just start assigning tasks like blah, 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 blah. And that's like his daily workflow. And why this is beneficial is because most people, they'll get to the end of the month, they'll check their bank account and be like, oh, okay, I made 20K. Like the whole month, they won't even know. It's like if you ask, what's your margins? People will be like, like 80. Meanwhile, it's like 54. Because the thing is, people don't check it enough. So he was saying, cash is literally the life of your business. You should be checking it every single day. Now, the next lesson is to let your clients tell you what they want. So to give some context, at the event, and I was so shocked when this happened, they came to the event in his Crocs and he stood up there. He was like, I have no agenda planned. What do you guys want to discuss? And at first I was like, I just paid $25,000 and sat on a 12-hour flight to Dubai for him to not have an agenda. But in reality, what he did was he let the clients raise their hand and say, I'm struggling with this, right? I'm struggling with sales. I'm struggling with bookings. I'm struggling with ads. I want to get this sorted. I can't manage my team. And by getting all these pieces of feedback, instead of him getting like some guest speaker who's going to come on stage and like clap their hands and stuff, it's like he was like, let's just solve the problems you guys have. And if you solve these problems, it'll make the event useful. And I thought afterwards, because I had to like justify it in my head to be like, okay, yeah, he's just gonna stand there and like, let us tell him. But it was the best thing you could have done because I applied the same lesson. And when I came back, I literally spoke to my clients on the coaching call. I was like, look, you guys already made money, but what else do you guys want to grow faster? What could be useful? And the crazy thing is, they just tell you, like, this is my next problem. It's like, okay, now I can just dictate how I'm improving my product. So in the same way, if you run an agency, it's like, you don't have to sit there and like ponder, what do they want? How could it be useful? You can just ask like, hey, I'm looking to improve my product. What could I do to make this better for you? And then they just tell you. Like, it's the easiest way to get better results, literally just by asking. And they'll trust you so much more by doing this. Now, the next lesson is to reinvest absolutely everything into the business. Now, it sounds pretty self-explanatory, but to give you some context, they literally only buy things that benefit the business. And to the point where, and I heard this from Iman Gadji as well, is that they would buy things that would actually incentivize them to work more. It's like, let's say you have $1,000. So either you could spend that $1,000 on some table at a club and just blow it completely, or you could spend that $1,000 on a chair, a desk chair. Now you may think like, okay, why would I want to buy a chair? But in reality, if you buy a comfortable chair, just think about it. If you work for 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day, 12 hours a day, like a lot of us, you're in that chair the whole time. So it would make sense to make the one place where you are nearly most of the day to be as comfortable as possible, because then you're going to want to work more. You're going to enjoy working more. And because you enjoy working, you're going to get more work done and you're going to make more money. right? It's like a self-fulfilling loop of just make money, want to make money more, make more money. And that's how you can grow so quick, because you get addicted to the process. Now, the final lesson is to get accountability. Now, one thing I learned by being in this mastermind was whenever I would join the calls, whenever I would join the events, I would leave the events being so motivated to work. Not because they told me like jump up and down and like clap my hands like Tony Robbins did. I was just like, man, these people are making a lot of money. And they're not even that smart, to be honest. Not necessarily the host of the event like Charlie and Bo, more so like other people there, right? It wasn't that they were completely stupid, but it wasn't like there was anything crazy about them. They didn't have some like different gene that just made them like a genius. So what I realized was I need more interactions with people who are just doing really well. So what I started doing was I would join every call that they hosted, right? And I'll just sit there, right? Even if I didn't have any questions, I would just sit there for the accountability and to just get pissed off that other people are doing so well. Right? And by extension, just by assimilation, you just gain the insights, the ways of thinking of people doing better than you. So this is one of the reasons why we have our calls inside our program too, because it keeps people accountable, right? It gives people the right guidance, the right mindset as well. As fluffy as that word sounds, it just keeps people on track all the time. So what I've done is I've made a near 2-hour long course mapping out exactly how you can go from 0 all the way to the 100K, genuinely in the fastest, least effort way of doing it. And this is exactly the insights I learned from going to events like this, but also from things like coaching inside of Email Gadget's Agency Accelerator, and all the experience we have with working with around 170 clients. So it's completely free. Use it, get results, and I'll see you in the next video.